Welcome to the Brick into Tech podcast. Today I have Wataru with me. He is a front-end developer from Migo Labs. He came from a psychology major and he got a job in a tech career with essentially no computer science degree. So welcome, Wataru.
Thank you, Ken, for having me.
Yes,
Yeah.
Wataru. Yeah. Please tell us about yourself and how did you came from someone who was a psychology major and started his career in marketing. And then he is a full stack developer now for around 9 years already.
Yep. Uh, sure. So my background, I originally did not major in computer science. I was interested in it, I think. So I took some classes growing up, like in high school and university, but I never really imagined that I would, do that as a full-time job. So after graduating university, I got a very general job at a large tech company in Japan called Rakuten. And there I was, placed into their hotel booking service. And within that, I was in the digital marketing team. So in that job, I had the opportunity to work on, online advertising. And naturally, online advertising involves um, JavaScript and embedding stuff on your website, tracking stuff, that kind of stuff. As you're running campaigns, you need to track and monitor and make sure it's all working. So naturally, it led to working with some JavaScript on the job. And furthermore, we were using Google AdWords for a lot of keyword advertising for the business, and they have their own JavaScript language called AdWords script, I think. And I took that opportunity to kind of learn a little bit of JavaScript to create scripts because a lot of the work felt repetitive and manual in Excel. So I wanted to automate that. And through that process, I slowly started to get more and more interested in the coding aspect of that work. And it was quite rewarding to see the value that I was able to output to the team by coding and writing these scripts and kind of automating a lot of the manual work. So in that process, I started to think, okay, like how can I make this my full-time job because I enjoy it and it's bringing some value. So yeah, at some point in that job, I started to study not only on the job but outside the job, and I was learning, some JavaScript. I think around the time React was starting to become recognized as this new great way to write front end applications on the web. And I think I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I started to learn React and some Node.js, and I was writing small applications on my own to learn. And after like a year, I think, of self-learning, I started to apply to some startups in Tokyo. And eventually I was able to land a very junior role at a small startup. And yeah, from there, I was luckily able to kind of get my foot in the door into the tech industry. And since then, I've been able to continue doing front end, full stack, mobile, yeah, for almost um 8 years or something. Yeah, at least something like that. Yeah, so
So
that's my
yeah,
background. Yep.
yes, I was going to add that this marketing job was almost 10 years ago, right? I'm
Yeah.
curious. Yeah, I'm curious on how boring this job was to actually,
Oh, it wasn't
yeah,
boring. Okay, it wasn't
because you said
boring.
it's like, okay, just very rigid and you just wish that you can
Yeah,
automate all this tasks. So yeah,
yeah,
maybe could you like explain on
sure,
how how much you felt like you could do better, improve this
sure.
task?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's boring. Um, it's just that a lot of so this is very specific to AdWords, but essentially when you use Google AdWords, you're bidding on different keywords. So at least at the time, so you have to and if you have a lot of keywords, it can be quite a lot of data points, right? So because the travel company that I worked at, Rakuten Travel, they had inventory for like tons of hotels all over Japan. So you can imagine all the keywords that they're bidding on, all the combinations of hotels and areas and all that stuff. And each one you're putting a price, what you're willing to pay per click. So, they had their own system of like managing that, and I can't talk about that, but it was a lot of Excel and a lot of updating spreadsheets every day, and it was extremely manual. So I thought some of that could be automated. Some of it was like too much, but uh, yeah, some of it I definitely thought you can just write a script to update these. Also, one other thing I did that I think was quite cool at the time was using scripts to create like dynamic ads. So, for example, I scraped the prices of our hotels from the website and then created an ad that actually included the price. So that was dynamic every day, updating based on the actual price of the hotels. And that's kind of the power of like code. And a lot of this, it would be impossible to do it manually, right? You can't look up thousands of hotel prices every day and update your ad to reflect that. You need to have some sort of automated system. So yeah, that's the kind of work I was doing. It was quite fun, and I had a really great boss that allowed me to pursue that aspect of the job. And he really encouraged me to like learn it. So I'm very grateful that I had a boss like that, because without him pushing me to do it, I wouldn't probably have like gone this route in my career. So yeah, just really lucky that I had a boss that was really supportive of
Yeah,
that kind of
that's
stuff.
a very wholesome story. I think, from what I understand from you, is that one of your reasons to code is maybe you did have experience and exposure to coding back in high school or college, and
Yeah,
you have an interest in coding, and at the same time you found that okay, you want to do this in terms of being someone who can provide solutions or someone who is forward thinking in building and automating things that you find that could be done better. Yeah,
mm,
so I'm actually interested in you saying that you learn coding on your own right now. Right? It's either you learn on the job or you learn outside the job. Yeah, just tell me about it. Like, how much time do you took to learn coding, or what were the ways that you do to learn coding?
sure. Um, so I definitely leveraged the fact that I could learn this on the job a lot. So I was doing, using some of my work time dedicated to writing scripts or working with, engineers from these advertising companies, leveraging their resources to learn how it works, how I can write scripts, etc. And then at some point, I started to learn like outside of work. So my my main strategy was to just go to a coffee shop after work, and um, yeah, I did some online courses on Udemy. I did some YouTube, a lot of YouTube videos. I think at the time started to come out that were about JavaScript. And then I was doing like some, projects that I just wanted to make on my own. So I started building those. But yeah, during the peak, I think it was pretty tough. Like I didn't really spend much time to socialize. I was really just hermit for like 6 months, I remember. And it was so bad that I was going to the same coffee shop so often that I started to get really embarrassed, like, oh, this guy again. That I decided to go to the same branch, like it's a chain. So I went to the same shop further down the street because there was another one. Then I went in and the same worker from the first shop was there. So that's like a really, I remember that time of my life when I was just like going there, working there until like, close to like midnight after work, and just coming home and sleeping and then going to work. And like it was really, really, now I would never do something like that. Now that I'm older, I don't have the energy. But at the time I was very, very motivated. Like I felt like I wanted to prove there was something like I wanted to prove, I think, to myself that um I can do this. But it was very tough, like a lot of work. And yeah, that was my strategy, was just to go after work and not come home until I did something did some learning.
I mean, besides building things or bringing
Yeah.
new, bringing new technologies into work or innovating things, is there any other reason for that kind of drive that you have? Besides wanting to be ahead.
mm, I mean, i think I during college, like I didn't really have a strong focus on what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And as a result of that, the only job I really got was a very generalist job. And I think I just felt like, I'm not really pushing myself or reaching my full potential just doing this like generic um, office job. I remember distinctly feeling that at some point early in the job, in my first job. So I just felt like, okay, well, I have a long career ahead of me. Like I might as well do something that I like excel in or feel kind of like satisfaction out of, and that mentally challenges me more. Um, yeah, so I think at some point I just felt like it wasn't really satisfying what I was doing, and coding was, interesting enough and something that I could do on my own time and not really get bored of it. I think that's really important. Because I genuinely enjoyed it. I was willing to do it outside of work for many, many hours. So for me, that kind of confirmed that, okay, maybe this is something that I can actually do as a career full time. So spending, that time, a year or a year and a half, just doing it out of work, solidified my kind of belief that, um, yeah, there's something I can do as a career and get some satisfaction out of.
Yeah. Yeah, besides interest, you really found a path that you can commit yourself to. And yeah, I'm very thankful that you said this. I'm also interested because you are someone who has 8 years in development. I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually interested in what is it like to be uh, a person on the first month on the job, in your first tech job, and to maybe what is it like today now, right? Yeah, can you share like how was your first month on the your first tech job?
Sure. So in my first tech job, uh, I knew how to write some like React stuff, some JavaScript stuff. But I had no idea how software engineers work. So that involves a lot of the soft skills, right? So when you're working by yourself solo on a project, it's very different from working in a company or in a team of multiple developers or designers, product managers. So that process of learning how to work as a software engineer, that was the thing that the first month, me had no idea how that any of that works. I mean, you can't really learn that unless you're talking to engineers or on the job, I think. So my boss in my first dev job was very kind, very, guided me through the whole process, like how to use Git collaboratively, how do you review other people's code? How do you fix code that other people review? How do you deploy things? And like, what is this? Like, what is infrastructure? Right? Like, you don't really know any of this stuff when if you're just focused on, let's say, front end or something, right? You don't really see the bigger picture of a product. So a lot of that was things that I learned on the first month probably. And now, 8 years later, I have a lot wider perspective on how software is developed, I think. So when I work, I'm able to take into consideration, bigger picture, I think, not just the immediate thing I'm working on, but how that impacts or how that's related to all these other factors. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest difference in the years of experience.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Since we're in this podcast, I always ask for, I guess, perhaps what is one of the ways would you? Okay, I would always ask if you were to learn coding again, how would you
Mm.
do this? How would you do things differently?
I were to learn coding again, I think I wouldn't learn JavaScript first. I think I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to JavaScript, I think, that allows anyone to start writing code really quickly, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that um you kind of miss or you might not have a strong um understanding of until you run into problems later, right? So I think one of the things like that is um just like how the typing works, right? So we didn't have I wasn't using TypeScript when I started writing my code. So at some point I had to basically adapt my code to TypeScript, and that was kind of a challenge at the beginning because I had no concept of these types, um, because the way JavaScript is, vanilla JavaScript, right, is not strictly typed. So that was like something I wish, had I learned a strongly typed language as my first language, those fundamentals, like understanding might have made life a bit easier down the line. Um, but yeah, I think it's a challenging question, um, because JavaScript is everywhere and so accessible because it's the web, and the web is essentially everywhere in our lives now. It also made it easy to start, and my marketing job was the entry point because it involved JavaScript. So yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like it gave me the opportunity, but it also um, might not be the best language to learn. Um, yeah, or maybe another thing would be learn multiple languages
Mm.
so that you're not just um, stuck to one thing, and you can, I think, see a much bigger, perspective. Um, and also it could lead to other opportunities. You never know. So yeah, I think does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess I hear what you say.
Yeah.
Just don't limit yourself to one. I try a few things. Just look around
Yeah.
and see what is being used
Yeah,
right now.
definitely. Yeah. Like there's always something in demand, right? Like right now there's so much demand for AI skills or working with language models or those kind of things. So like I think it's always a risk, you never know if it's something that is just a phase and it's going to quickly go out of demand, or it might end up becoming industry standard, or it might become a huge thing that will, if you go in early and get the skills, it might set you up for a lot of success and also give you an edge over other candidates if you're looking for jobs, right? Because you decided to like focus in on something very specific and get a particular skill in some tool or language or something. So yeah, definitely you have to keep your eyes out. And like even now, I feel like constantly I need to keep looking outwards out of my immediate work and yeah, just
Yeah,
keep in check.
okay. I believe your story is very relatable to feel like they want to change or they feel stuck or they feel like they have not narrowed
Mm,
down themselves, right? Would you is there anything you would say to uh, these people who are on the
Mm,
fence to learn coding? Probably,
sure.
yeah. Could you, yeah, just like you were at a crossroad too, and a lot of these people
Yeah,
are on the fence about this kind of
sure.
thoughts.
Yeah. Um, I think my opinion about so if, I've had a lot of people reach out to me personally because they also like saw that I was non-tech background that became developer, so they're also feeling something similar, like they want to transition. Often, I think I just tell them it's not easy and it's going to require a lot of work, and also like really spend some time like coding and learning how to code, and then really make sure that it's something you enjoy. Because if you don't enjoy the process of coding or the process of learning how to code, and solving issues and learning more stuff to solve issues, you're not gonna it's gonna be you'll be miserable, right, if you don't find that process enjoyable. Because even once you're an engineer, like a lot of your work is trying to solve unknown issues or those kind of things. So I think I really want people that are considering switching, like, to really spend time just doing it, but then make sure that it's something they enjoy enough that they're able to do it out of enjoyment at some level, right? I think if you're purely doing it, I think it's fine if it's for financial reasons. Like, I think that's a valid reason to switch careers. And to be honest, for me as well, that was part of, well, definitely one of the reasons, right? But if you genuinely don't enjoy it at some level, I think you'll burn out or you'll feel miserable. So I really encourage people that are on the fence to just be honest with themselves and ask that question, as they're going through that learning journey, to make sure that it's something they enjoy. And like, it I think it should be something that genuinely makes you want to learn more, because there's so much happening in the tech space, right? Like, if you want to learn something, there's always something. There's too much to learn, actually. So if you feel that, if that excites you, and if you want um to continue to learn, because you will have to continue to learn, like, even if you get your job, you're going to have to continue to learn, reinvent yourself probably every 5 years or something, unless you get some nice management job, I don't know. If you want to keep writing code, like, you're gonna have to keep learning. So yeah, just make sure that that process is something that you enjoy, because otherwise, yeah, you'll be miserable.
I agree because you said that you were in the cafe for months, and
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
it,
So
it
that
really takes a lot of
exactly,
interest and like
yeah,
and
exactly.
motivation to do this.
Yeah,
you have to do if you are gonna do self learning, yeah, you really need this to go
yeah.
through what you did. Yes,
I think it
definitely.
was a good like test for myself. Like, okay, if I'm willing to keep doing it even after that period, then it probably means that I enjoy it enough that, although it sucked just doing that, day in and day out, it was enjoyable enough, which gave me the confidence that, okay, like, I could probably do this as a job and I wouldn't be miserable, because I can be locked up in this, cafe every night and still be okay. So yeah, it was a grind, but I came out on the other side and uh, worked out.
Yes, I actually want to ask, in terms of your goals. Can I know what
Mm.
are your goals in tech for the future?
My tech goals and tech. I don't know. I mean, I've been working at different companies for a while, and I think as I've gained more skills, and also just like experiences in life, I think at some point I wanted. I've been saying this from when I was younger, but like, I think I have enough knowledge now, and there's enough tools out there to kind of build my own company or startup or some kind of service. I think it's getting easier and easier to make your own software service these days. So yeah, I can see myself in the future, I hope, launching some services that I think are fun or useful. And I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure like what I'm going to be doing in 10 years, but I enjoy learning and being in the tech space for now. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Totally
Yeah.
understandable. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a very great story from you, Wataru. Uh, Tell me about what is it like to be working in tech in Singapore? Because you did work in Japan for a bit, and
Mm.
then you are half American and half Japanese, and you
Hmm.
made the move to Singapore maybe 4 years ago, right? Yeah, perhaps we could share what you're enjoying about working in tech spaces.
Um, well, I think overall, I found that there was more opportunities and like compensation seemed better in general for similar kinds of jobs. So that's definitely a very big thing I noticed. And I don't know. I mean, all the companies I've worked at are very international. So actually, right now I'm fully remote. Um, Actually, most of the company is not in Singapore currently. But my first, or yeah, like my previous company, Stashaway, for example, was actually it was in the middle of COVID, but there was an office and yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed working with the people there. I made some, really good friends that I'm still friends with now. Um, it's hard for me to compare. I think like I've only really worked at very like international startups, except for Rakuten, which is a Japanese company, but they're also very diverse in terms of on the spectrum of international companies in Japan. So yeah, I don't think there's that much difference in terms of the day-to-day work in Japan or in Singapore, but that has to do with the kind of companies that I think I'm naturally attracted to or fit into. So I can't really say if there's some big like cultural difference or something like that. But definitely like financially, I find there's more opportunities here. The compensation is better, taxes are better. So
Right.
all those things definitely add up. And it's really hard for me to justify going back to Japan right now. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking about financial opportunities, right? Would you be
Mm-hmm.
comfortable sharing maybe your first job in tech and what is it like now in terms of loosely in the salary range? You can say it in US dollars or Sing
So
dollars.
I don't really want to share numbers, but I can say like percentages, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
I mean, my first job in Japan, uh, yeah, let's just say I was barely scraping by with my rent and all, living by myself. Um, yeah, and I guess compared to that, I'm doing better. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how to say without sharing numbers, but
I hear you. I hear you.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely gone up a bit, multiple times compared to the very first job. But like that is also, they literally accepted me, with zero previous background. So I had no complaints. Like they helped me get a job and get into the industry, right? So I was not really complaining. But as I became more experienced, like yeah, I think it's fair to look to step up and um yeah, go to places that pay more for the same job. That's just kind of the natural progression of I think most careers.
Yeah. Yeah, again, thank you for sharing Wataru. I think this is me. I'm your host today, Ken Wade. We have Wataru as our guest today, and I hope to see you next time. See you guys.
Great. Thank you for having me. Bye
Bye.
bye.
All right, nice.